Hi everyone, welcome back to your virtual lab. In this lab, we're going to be talking about the microscopic anatomy of bone. So bone, you'll remember, has a lot of different functions, but one of its most important functions is that it provides support and protection for the human body and for some of its most vulnerable organs. So it's important that this is a very hard material. There are two types of bone. Remember, there's the spongy bone or trabecular bone, which has lots of holes. It gets its name because there are little bone fragments called trabeculae that form kind of like a sponge-like matrix. We typically find this type of bone on the inside of bone. The second type of bone is called compact bone. It's the kind of solid outer type of bone. It's probably a little bit more, it's a little bit stronger than the trabecular or compact bone. And you're responsible for knowing its anatomy. So let's take a look. This is one of the models that we have in the A&P lab, so you're responsible for being able to identify the structures on this bone. Starting with the large hole in the middle here, this is called the central or Haversian canal. And as you can see in this model, there's blood vessels here as well as lymphatic vessels and nervous tissue as well. So this is a nerve. This would be an artery, vein, and then lymphatic vessel right here. The Haversian canal is going to provide sensation to these, is going to detect sensation for the central nervous system. It's going to tell the central nervous system what's going on in the bone. And then the arteriole here is going to bring blood supply to the bone. The nutrients are going to diffuse out of this blood vessel and into the extracellular matrix here to feed the bone cells called osteocytes and osteoblasts. The vein here takes blood away. All right, moving out from the central canal, we have these kind of circular sheets of bone. These are the lamellae, and they make kind of a concentric pattern. They're almost like those Russian nesting dolls. So these are concentric lamellae because they form these concentric circles. And you'll hopefully remember from your lecture that these lamellae have collagen fibers running through them, but they run in opposite directions for each of the concentric lamellae. And this helps to reinforce the bone against twisting stress. In between the lamellae, we have these little pits or holes. These are the lacunae, and as you can see here, the lacunae house osteocytes. So these things that look like red and blue eyes, they are the osteocytes. You also probably notice that there are little channels or canals that go out from the lacunae. These are the canaliculi. They help osteocytes communicate with each other through the bone tissue. So they're very important. All right, if you look really carefully and really closely, you'll probably notice that this little area here looks a bit like a partial lamella. You see how this area looks like it's trying to form a circle. This area is forming a circle, but this does not. It's like it's a piece of bone jammed in between those two other osteons. This would be an example of interstitial lamellae. Interstitial lamellae are formed when bone gets remodeled. So it was an osteon at one point, but then the bone gets dissolved, digested, and reformed. It gets resorbed. Remember, that was the word from lecture, resorbed. So the bone gets resorbed and it gets rebuilt, and you wind up with these interstitial lamellae as a result. Here's another model of the bone. And the first thing I want you to notice is all the different types of lamellae that we have here. Here are the ones that we saw on the last model. Altogether, this whole unit is called an osteon. And the osteon is made up of concentric lamellae. So if I use my mouse, I can kind of draw the circle around. So you can see that these lamellae, again, they're like Russian nesting dolls. They're just all together forming concentric circles. So those are the concentric lamellae. They make up your osteon. And these two towers are basically showing you the same thing. This particular one shows you the direction of the collagen fibers. So if you have a really good monitor, you can see that. They're going in opposite directions. Okay, now those aren't the only lamellae that we have in bone. You also have lamellae like this one. Do you remember what this was from the last model? These are the interstitial lamellae. Again, they happen when bone is resorbed, and during resorption, part of the osteon is removed, and then the bone rebuilds. Okay, it rebuilds to make new osteons, but you're left with these fragments of the older ones. So those are interstitial lamellae. And then we have these lamellae that basically go all the way around the compact bone. These are the circumferential lamellae because they go around the circumference of the bone. Okay. In between the lamellae, we still have those pits or holes. Remember, these are called lacunae. Okay, these are called lacunae. I wrote lacuna here. That's the singular. Lacunae would be with an E on the end, so lacunae. Inside the lacunae are osteocytes. So on this particular model, the osteocytes look like little brown spiders, which you can kind of see down here at the bottom of your screen. It's hard to see in some places, but if you look over here, you can see there are little lines that go throughout the bone. These are the canaliculi. Remember, their job is to connect the osteocytes one to another so that they can communicate throughout the bone. In the middle of each osteon is a Haversian canal or central canal. Remember, that's where we saw the blood vessels, the nerve, and the lymphatic vessel. So notice each intact osteon has one. And it looks like they pulled the blood vessels out of this particular model, but sometimes there's like a little red artery kind of sticking out here at the top. Okay. Now, something that's on this model that was not on the last one is this layer here. This is the periosteum. The periosteum. Remember, this is a connective tissue sheath that is vascularized. It also is innervated, so there's nerve tissue there, but it basically covers the surface of the bone except for at the articular surfaces where the articular cartilages are. So that's what the white layer is out here on the end. And then it's attached or fused to the bone via these Sharpie fibers. Sometimes they're also called perforating fibers. Okay, but you can see they're kind of embedded within the bone to help hold the periosteum tight to the bone surface. This is the same model, just a different view. And again, you can see the little osteocytes. They look like little brown spiders on the side of the bone. Okay, but what I wanted to show you on this particular view are these blood vessels that are running pretty much parallel to the surface of the model. They're running horizontally. These are the Folkman canals. The Folkman canals. So nutrient arteries, blood vessels can run along these canals. And as you can see here, they branch, and the branches actually go up to be part of the central canal that goes through each osteon. So the bone tissue is actually highly vascularized in comparison to cartilage. Okay, but again, these are the Folkman canals that are running through the bone, carrying blood vessels. So those are our bone models. Hopefully you understand the organization of the microscopic anatomy of your bone. Good luck with your quiz and your practical. Bye now.